Greetings everyone, my name is Napoleon Complex, I go by Ludendorff in the Southern Forums. Welcome back to Faction Spotlight. So today we are taking another look at the Galatians, and this time we are taking a look at one of the armies types that they are absolutely not suited to fighting. So the Galatians are characterized by their strong warbands, backed up by more mediocre warbands, and a decent wing of cavalry. Now these superior warbands are usually excellent for driving through the centre of enemy infantry formations, and their impact status also makes their line very difficult to come to grips with, making them somewhat difficult to flank, which alleviates their low numbers. However, today we are up against the Sarmatian and Skythian army, and these armoured noble lancers and these cheap noble lancers are an almost perfect counter to my entire army. Lancers, of course, stop impact foot dead in their tracks. They have a decent chance of disrupting them on impact, and of course the infantry can't charge them safely, meaning that a large part of my line is likely to be locked down early in the battle, and I will struggle to regain the initiative from there. I might be able to get the better of the lancers on the flanks with my strong cavalry, but they also have a strong force of nomad horse archers and nomad light horse archers, who will be able to pour fire into the advancing cavalry, weakening them before the critical clash with the lancers, and of course the lancers' impact will probably allow them to disrupt even my armoured noble cavalry, and my noble cavalry just frankly aren't up to scratch against the armoured lancers, who are very likely to be deployed in the flanks. And my skirmisher wing is weak, which means I have no archers and slingers to bring to the battlefield who might be able to disrupt the powerful lancers. So I am really up against it today. My opponent is Pompey the Flatulent. That is, of course, a play on Pompey the Great. And he is a formidable player and has a good reputation on the Digital League. I am really not expecting to be able to win this. I'm going to give him the best game I can. I always do try my best, but I really don't think this is going to end any other way except in my complete and total defeat. But I'm going to try anyway, and if I can somehow pull this off, I will be extremely proud of myself. So I will be back once I've finalised my army selections. I'm just trying to get an idea of what I might do here. Be back in a moment. Okay, I have taken the unusual step of not trying to play to the usual strength of the Galatians, their heavy infantry, and I brought a minimum of superior warbands, and this is to give me enough points to get enough warbands to extend my army past Pompey's flanks. So I'm hoping to outnumber him. And I think I've managed to ensure that I will outnumber him, as the lancers are still quite expensive, and he doesn't have enough ordinary noble lancers to outnumber my army. Even if he brings all of his cavalry, I will outnumber him and I will be able to get a flank somewhere. To try to alleviate the weakness of these warbands, the lancers, I intend to use the rough ground here and the hill here in order to make this flank resistant to breaking. There are a few weak points though. If these units are exposed to this patch here, this unit will have to move out, and then it will be out in the open and vulnerable to a lancer charge, especially if they put a general on it. Luckily, I can lend them a general in that situation, and they'll be able to hold out a little bit longer. The cavalry here are for distraction purposes. With the nimble Celtic chariots, good for emergency flanking if Pompey does lower his strength in this area. The main strike force, though, is my cavalry. I have mustered up all the cavalry I can get. I've put my superior warbands here to help protect their weaker cousins, and as you can see, I've put my I've concentrated my generals over here as well. And the plan really is for these units to be the decisive wing of my army. I hope to get around the flanks. I hope to engage Pompey's cavalry, and then I hope to outflank them and destroy them. And lancer armies are quite vulnerable to being wrapped up once they are flanked. But those lancer charges are very scary for my warbands to deal with, especially with their cohesion penalty in the general cohesion penalty. And this is going to be a very difficult battle today, folks. So on with it. Next turn. Back on the field of Pompey. Who is about to appear any second now. There we go. It's every bit as terrifying as I thought, though. His left is a little light, I think. Right, let's see how he moves first of all. Right, he's going for lancers going around the flanks. Interesting, and the light's going to restrict my movements. He's definitely weighting his right against my left, which is kind of the opposite of what I was planning to do here. He's obviously planning to smash my cavalry first and then move on to the warbands, which is an intelligent way of going about things, honestly. And I can only move so far because of the hill. What I might want to do is a very quick flank swap. This could be quite tricky to do, but I think I can pull it off. The only thing is it's going to move some of my cavalry out of command range. Or, well, it's probably better that the warbands are left without the commander, to be honest. So, because we probably do want to face those horse archers with our warbands, because they will at least be more resilient to archer fire than they will be to lancer attack. And the noble lancers have to go down. So here's a trick. I'm not going to do anything at first. I'm just going to let him advance. And my hope is that he's going to overcommit to the attack on my left. And then my cavalry are going to suddenly dart over towards the right. It's a bit of a risky strategy, but I think I can pull it off. Although, let's see, that's going to take at least... And he'll be upon me very quickly. Maybe I should just start to move. I think I should start to move now. I don't think I've got time for any trickery at this point. So we'll move up and into position. The only problem with this is that'll prompt him to hold back on the... Right, okay. That's less than ideal. But truth to be told, he was probably planning on holding back anyway. There, so let's just play our cards. Maybe I shouldn't have given up on a more subtle approach so quickly. That rough ground is going to get in the way of a redeployment. I think I'll pull up onto the hill then. Try and get some protection here. And maybe not for my superior warbands, they're tough enough to stand in the open, but certainly for my regular war... Okay, that's going to get in our way, I see. Well, never mind. Not for the moment anyway. I've got time to respond, so let's not panic. Move them over here so they're closer to the hill at least. They're going to have to turn around anyway, so let's just go for it. And I will leave some of my units on this flank defending. Some of my cavalry on this flank defending it. Nor should I just take everything and really wait this flank. I have an idea. Okay, next turn. Okay, and of course he has light supremacy, so he's moving up to exploit that. And he will be within slinging distance next turn, so I might suffer an early disruption on my superior warbands. He's transferring the horse archers across to the other side of the battlefield. Either that or he's just hoping to hit my warbands with his archers. And concentrated like this, they'll be dangerous. Yeah, I'm not sure if this is going to work. He's definitely refusing his left flank. Yeah, he's not taking the bait. He's refusing to overcommit to the attack here, and he's taking a balanced approach. But that gives opportunities as well. So what I want to do is I want to let him come forward a little bit and come away from the protection of that lake. Although maybe there's this gap here which I want to exploit to get around his line. See, so his horse archers can reach here, so they can start shooting at these units. 1, 2, 3. They can't reach this square yet, I don't think, so they can't start fully bombarding this warband unit. But they can certainly get close enough to threaten it with a charge, and I do not like that one bit. So let's drop back. I'm actually planning to put a superior warband on this flank now, and start to turn these units around. We'll have a superior warband unit on the corner. And now I remember the plan. Okay. Give the impression that I'm maybe looping around the forest. But what I'm really planning to do is return to this left flank. And these, okay. I need this unit to go this way to be convincing. And I think I might actually bring my cavalry through the gap here. So make it look like a full flank transfer, but I am plotting something. He'll spot this. This doesn't look like I'm going around here. I haven't been subtle enough. Yeah, and just let these units rest for now. Try and make myself look a bit complacent. Which I'm not. I know exactly how dangerous this army could be to me. Those lancers break through and we've got a problem. And those horse archers are going to cause me some serious trouble. Next turn. Okay, here we go. Interesting. What the earth is he planning? Right, that makes more sense. I was expecting him to do that. But he's... Yep, going straight after one of the most vulnerable units with this light horse. And the nomad light horse are actually pretty dangerous to chariots, even in melee. There is a small chance I might be able to push them off the map, but they are a distraction. And this is getting dangerous. I think he's emboldened by my hesitant play in the well, on both flanks at the moment, really. But that is the plan. I want to look weak at the moment. Right, let's figure out what I'm trying to do. Right, let's drop on the hill. And as discussed, let's bring up our corner units. Although wait for it. Let's stick our warbands up there first. No, that would completely defeat the point of the plan, wouldn't it? Move them to here. Okay, just bring them out. We will wish they weren't facing in that exact direction. The warbands are in trouble because they can't fall back and they're not the right angle. They're in danger of being flanked. Thankfully, a flank from a unit of nomad horse archers. They're just a little bit too far away. Can this unit be reached? No, but I'm not done yet. I'm going to move these units. Right, so here goes our surprise, big surprise. We're going to suddenly loop around again to the left as that square is now in range. I'm going to move my cavalry into position. Hold on a second. And lend the vulnerable unit to general, and they should be okay now even if they are flanked. Though it would be disastrous if they weren't. Okay, so suddenly my cavalry is going to spin around to this side again. Put a general on him. And once again, the plan is to hold this ridge line. Those nomad light horse archers are extremely annoying, and they know it. But my chariots are cheaper. That really doesn't give me a lot to protect this flank with. Hold on a second, how many units does he have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 16, 19. He doesn't have that many units. Okay. I may just be overcommitting here. And skirmisher fire is going to hurt here. But if he leaves gaps in the line for me to exploit, actually get ready to strike out. Turn around. It's a nice little gap to go for if he gets too aggressive with his horse archers. And my noble cavalry can aim for this gap. They really don't need to go right around. He's using his mobility well. And the mobility that the horse archers this type of army offers. I think I'll actually turn my line like this to try and match his units up more cost effectively. So I'll probably look to move like this. It does mean abandoning the rough ground, but I can at least use the hill to defend my army, because I am looking awfully thin here, awfully thin, and I need to shuffle troops around to get. I might even borrow some cavalry or some warbands from the left flank. We're so thin. I don't want to let him around my flank. He's much faster than I am. Next target. returning to Lancer Hell. Okay. Doesn't seem like the best use of his... Oh, you terrifying, terrifying soldiers. Although if he keeps moving like this, he's going to open up a gap that I can potentially exploit. Because if the warbands can come in from the sides, they can threaten the lancers. Yeah, he's not even going to try that flank attack because a generaled up warband is just going to bounce, is just going to repel it. Well, I say that, he hasn't actually committed to that move yet. He's he's solidifying here, but he's now opening up a gap I could exploit. This has become rather less favourable. I don't want to confront his lancers with my chariots. That would be quite dangerous. Leave this for now. I don't want him to notice that I can ride through this gap. Should I just close up the line here? Because it would mean drastically repositioning my chariots. The chariots aren't going to be effective as a frontline unit. They have to come in from a surprising angle. That's why they're aimed at this gap. But I think he's aware of that now, and he's not really going to give me a chance to use this to my advantage. Give them the general. They're the most vulnerable unit now. Oh god, those are scary armoured noble lancers. Those are the Skythian noble lancers, their allies. You can see that they're decorated differently. That beautiful barded armour. Part of my problem here is that the line is still too compressed. I think I will close off this gap actually, and turn around, drop back here, and I'm preparing to wall up this side of the front line. And I'm keeping my cavalry on point behind or beside that wall. Thing is, it's kind of too obvious. He's not going to move out here. So I think I do still have to be ready to push out. Maybe not with the chariots, but with stronger units. I need to be prepared to ride out through the gaps in my warbands here. Right, situation here. So his line ends here. On this line here, so everything else is potentially free to move. I think I'll start to move to threaten this line. Charge, let's see if we can catch him. Nope. It's alright. I mean, it's not great, but it's not the end of the world. If they don't get out of the way, I'll knock them off the map entirely. because we can still support one another from here. Sideways, I can always move up here and just block this area. Although I'm trying to, the whole point is of this is I'm trying to draw them thin. So let's hope I can guide them forward, and then my cavalry will suddenly change direction. I am determined to get my cavalry out into the flanks of these lancers somewhere. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, next turn. Alright. I can't quite charge from there, they're going to have to back up. He's lured me into a bit of a skirmisher ambush here. Yep. And the siege begins. Uh-oh. Not good. Bad start, very bad start. Very good use of his long-range archers. Just nudged me over the edge. I need to start taking action soon. Give me a moment. Just making sure that the recording was on. So you can see right there what happens when warbands try to charge cavalry. It ends horribly for them. I really don't want to move my warbands out to confront those armored noble lancers. I think, are there any more floating around? Yeah, these guys are out in the open. Well, no, they're on the hill at least, so these guys at least have some protection. But I don't want to face these units out in the open. It's about muchness. I mean, they're all he's spread out as generals. Well, this general's unit I'm going to take a bad impact somewhere through all of this. There is a 75. If I can shield this unit somehow from direct impact. It doesn't really make a difference, does it? Okay. So we need to move away and shield here. Shield the forces here. And this is drawing me out into a fight that I don't think I can win very easily anyway. The superior warbands are more reliable, at least. I think I'll have to leave a general on... Wait, who's in charge here? So the superior units are more reliable, at least. But they're not on the hill. It's a difficult choice. Because they could be at a really bad disadvantage out of the plane here without the general support, but so could the warbands. I think I'll have to move my general on to... Now I'll keep this, and what I'll try to do now is set up a flanking threat. No, even that may be easier said than done. Because I need them to actually face in a good direction for this. And moving any further forward will bring us into open ground. He's moved very cleverly. So let's see, what are the major threats? Well, there's an attack here. I want to turn this unit to face this way. I want this unit to absorb a charge, so that we don't end up having a flank turned here. These armoured noble, if that unit breaks suddenly, at least there's units behind to absorb and maybe even get a flank attack in. Don't move anything yet until I know what I'm doing. Though this unit could also fold, and that would be really bad. He is rather squishy here. There's two units of... Another unit of these armoured noble lances are just lethal to my cavalry. Ideally I want to match my armoured noble cavalry to them, but... Let's see, if they charge there and get stuck in... So you can then seal them in. Move here. Start to turn my armoured noble cavalry around. Oh wait, those are armed. Damn it! God, this is complicated. Again, yeah. If he gets the full impact of what's going on here, then I may be in trouble. And this was stupid. I don't suppose I can move any of this away. All this really did was slow me down. 1, 2, 4, 5, 6. Could possibly do something with this lot over here. Wow, the slingers there are dangerous. Oh, there's a lot here that can kill me. I try to move and block. I can't block the slingers anyway. Whatever I do. I'll move here, and then that will beckon the noble lancers hopefully to try and chase me down. Oh, he can just move there, and then they're completely shut in and isolated from the rest of my army. I'll give them a general, and they're just going to have to try and withstand the missiles next turn. I'll at least move Elf a little bit to lower his cavalry's options. And if things get... well, no. I don't want him to be able to drive through. So they have to be prepared to fight here. If things go really badly, if this unit disrupts, you can get a flank attack here with the armoured noble lancers. And I've just taken my general away from those armoured noble lancers. So look at the odds. God, that's terrifying, even on a hill. Even on a hill, that's absolutely terrifying. Okay, next turn. Okay, here we go. Time to get hit by all the arrows under the sun. And here comes the disruption. How did I know it was going to be a disruption? I knew that was going to happen. Okay. That's something at least. And now I can't turn to face. At least those lancers weaken with every charge. That's the one advantage the warbands have over the lancers' bulk. God, more skirmishers. You'll definitely use those yeah. And they'll be in command. Oh, dear God, he's just hunting them down. I didn't even get a chance to use those noble cavalry. The cavalry are the only offensive wing of my army I have. If I lose them, I lose the army. Where's the general when you need him? It's the same problem I had with the defensive spearmen. I just can't attack with this army. He's managed to push my chariots out the way. Very well thought out. They can move up to there to block, and then... okay, how am I going to do this? Interesting. Would have thought you'd choose the armoured noble lancers for that. These guys are so dead. At least I can maybe distract the skirmishers a bit longer. I usually have contempt for horse archers, but they've messed me up here. And that's exactly how they should be used, out at the end of the line to disrupt cavalry units. And he's just matched everything up perfectly. And these units are one bad turn away from being flanked as well. What he could do is try and concentrate fire on them and get a disruption that way, because he's got 3 units with which to do it with. Two units of armored noble lancers, that's terrifying. But I do see a flanking opportunity against them. And I have to go for a flank. I have to try and open a flank somewhere. That's the only way I'm going to get out of this. This is going to be hell. Because they're facing, again, unmaneuverable troops. Which means I can't move to here yet until I can turn. These guys are now out of general range. Right now I need to think about how to protect this flank. They can't fall back anyway because it'll be straight into a the forest could potentially get in his way. I'll move on to the rough ground here. If I can avoid getting flanked for the next couple of turns. Actually, come back. Give them the general and then move up onto the rough ground. It's not going to end well. I mean, I knew this was going to be a tough fight. That was the whole point of this video. I just realised I need to move out here, because otherwise they're just going to shut us down. And that's dangerous as well. Jesus, everything's horrible at the moment. So he's drawn me off the hill. That was pretty much the one advantage I had, the one thing that was protecting me against these lancers. I can't move here because he'll just charge and lock down my one flanking opportunity. He could get the better of me anywhere here. My position is incredibly vulnerable. And I've got troops prowling around my back line now. Okay, so I've been forced to move up here. See, that means I need to do something about these armoured noble lancers. Let's finally do something. Right. So it wasn't perfect, but at least it is something for him to think about. The warband is the better choice here because it at least gives some protection from the skirmishers. But it's a lousy choice against those armoured noble lancers. I just realised that is a completely open flank, isn't it? Great. Okay. Guess the armoured noble cavalry are going there whether I like it or not. Again, we're not actually facing them, so I can't just move my troops out. What I hope to do is push them into a retreat and then catch them as they retreat. But the rough ground again is going to make that difficult to force to happen, and you can move the skirmishers to block it as well. But it's something. We're not done yet. There's still a lot that can go right and can go wrong for us. Next turn. Crunch. Okay, they're still in melee. That means that the lancers, even after the shock impact goes through, have an advantage. Yep, that's good placement of those lancers. And he's in behind me now. Uh-oh. Those lancers are so fast and they can move to such advantageous position. I had the same problem in my Galatian campaign. Oh, we were always going to lose them. Thank goodness they held firm. Ah, you cowards! And more chaos. And they're just going to go for the breakthrough now. That's why I was so reluctant to move off the mountain. Those warbands just can't stand up to lancer charges on the flat. That worked. Okay, but it is now paramount that those armoured noble lancers remain locked down. And they could easily be released. That was a really, really bad place for us to lose. Because I could have possibly got the flank on them otherwise. Placement is really unfortunate. Aha. That's not good for him. Can I borrow a general, please? Oh, right. Yeah, I can do this. I can do this. And that locks them down in that direction as well, as long as these cowards don't run away again. He's generaled up here. Is there anywhere we can possibly gain an advantage? This is good because he'll get slowly ground down here. They'll pull back now. That's the only thing. No, very foolish of those lancers to remain in contact. Aha. Well then, this is a thing. Oh god. You know what, this is all coming down anyway. Let's engage. And now I can turn to face. Oh great, no I can't. I know what's going to happen here. Thank you for standing firm. Can you do it another turn though? Right, get in there and fight. That ruined it. I worked hard for that. The lancers are just too slippery. So these need to stand steady so that these units are blocked by this unit, so these units can't get the flank attack. And I'm starting to return these units to the fight. It's not over yet. Although if anything else goes wrong, it will be. Let's just resolve that while we're at it. Okay, next turn. More skirmishers. Alright, at least we have an advantage there now. Please hold, please hold, please hold, please hold. Nope. At least they went running off in the right direction. You've got to be kidding me. I suppose I'm at a disadvantage, but it always stings when I lose, because I always take full responsibility for it. Difficult situation, well, you should have played better. Skillful. And now they're all going to pursue. Right, because I moved to secure this situation here. I'm just getting completely locked down here. At least these lancers are in a bad position. Alright, oh. Well, I suppose I'd better make the most of the flank attack, because it's the only one I'm going to get. Okay. Oh wow, nothing risky about this at all. And they held on anyway. So, I was trying to save this unit, but it just couldn't happen. The superior lancers were just too tough, and they just ended up throwing away more resources. Now this could actually be promising. Oh wait, they're holding that up. And those chariots are pretty much the only hope that the back of my line has right now. So I feel very sorry for the back of my line, because that's not going to cut it. Oh, this is a disaster zone. Aha! I have him somewhere. If they can hold on long enough, then I do have his lancers here. God, even with that disruption, it's not very good odds. And they're going to get flanked again. Well, they have turned around, so I suppose they're going to wall all of this off. But fighting defensively like this just isn't going to work. So they're going to cut everything up. This unit's going to be in a position to... It's all going to come down on my head. But keep going anyway. Anything else? Nope. Next turn. Oh, a nice diagonal. And here comes some more broken teeth. Skirmish. Oh goodness, and the skirmishers again. Why would they retreat from that position? You're being attacked by skirmishers, so you run away? And of course they break instantly because they're warbands, and once things do go wrong for the warbands, they break very quickly. It's not a break, just shot to pieces. I even managed to get something out to rescue these guys. At least I'll probably pick up these lancers. God. Well, running away didn't save you much trouble, did it, lads? Amazing. I'm amazed we got out of this. Yeah, this is about how I thought things would go. What choices do I have left? If I can dupe these noble lancers into dropping back onto the square, I can possibly trap them. This could work. I'll wait until next turn to actually exploit it. But he's probably going to end the game before this can happen. These guys can actually hold out for a while. Unless that happens. They're not even going to give me that opportunity. And the problem is these noble lancers could choose to turn and flank my armoured noble cavalry because they're pursuing. They can do... Oh no, wait, they've stopped pursuing. Ugh, this is grisly. They're going to need their... Oh, but... It's a question of who I get killed by first here. That will force them to charge these units, which might at least save the flank of my noble cavalry. Except they can hit them as well, and he doesn't care about this unit. It's disrupted that's out of the fight. Oh, you guys just go off and die somewhere, you gigantic failures. Okay, I do actually have something resembling an advantage on the side of the field. But I think he's going to end it here before I can really make use of it. Okay, next turn. So Pompey just brought up the fact that the Galatians lack all ranged firepower, and yeah, that has been... I thought it was mainly going to be the Lancers. That was lucky. I thought it was mainly going to be the Lancers which caught me here, but it's been as much been the cavalry. It's as much been the missile cavalry. And the skirmishers that have caught me off guard. God, and again the skirmishers there. So that's freed up his lancers to go somewhere else. I had him trapped there. They used the skirmishers to free them up. I must say, Pompey is demonstrating himself to be a masterful skirmisher here. It's the skirmishers that have decided this battle, not the lancers. Or it's as much the skirmishers as the lancers, at the very least. But you see also that the complete maneuver dominance that the noble lancers have over the warband army, because these guys can go wherever they want. The only chance we had was that we could hold formation long enough. He even managed to block me here, and almost managed to disrupt my chariots. And once that box is broken, once we can't keep the lancers out, there's nothing that the warband can do. They're just going to get surrounded and cut to pieces, or shot to pieces. And this is almost over now. We've lost most of our army, although that will help. And that will at least keep us alive a little bit longer. So I really don't have any other choice but well, let's see. Can I turn to protect here? No, I have no choice but to engage to try and save those guys. Yep, and that's another disruption. Again, that lack of cohesion when they do suffer a defeat means that these warbands, and they're probably going to get taken by the no matter what light horse archers anyway. Choose how you want to die. This is pretty much what the situation is. Because they're blocked, yeah. At least we'll get to maul their slingers. Actually, if I thought about that for a second, I might have managed to hit these units. This actually looks promising. Oh, they'll just drop back. Yep. I was hoping, I thought this unit might disrupt and then they might get lured into combat, but that's not what happened. God, even going downhill, those odds are terrible. Right, next turn. This will be over soon. Yeah, so discussing what I could have done, Pompey suggesting that I could have brought some more light javelinmen. The problem is that, I mean, it's an interesting question, you know, if I brought some light javelins I could probably have blocked some of this. But the concern that I have there is that it doesn't really leave me any way to actually win the battle. I mean, maybe it could have been used, but I already have the situation where my cavalry aren't really strong enough to win the battle on their own, not against these lancers. My warbands can't stand up to these noble lancers forever from the front. I am eventually going to lose somewhere, so I needed to get something around the backs of his line somewhere, and the only way I felt I could guarantee the numbers to do that was by taking as many heavy infantry as I could, and that meant going light and skirmishers. However, I mean, that may be a lack of imagination on my part. That's a lot of rallies. Good luck for me now, but I think it's too late. And of course, he's just going to charge me again. So these Celtic chariots are effectively paralysed. I'm going to go in for the attack anyway, because we have to do something. But unless you can get into this situation where you pin the noble lancers into combat, there's not a lot they can do against the lancers except to stand there. And I'm pinned into position. Got a disruption there, but we're going to get hit before we can exploit it. And that, of course, opens up my flank. Oh no, it doesn't, because that's why we can't turn to face. It's because these warbands are still protecting the flanks, I think. Otherwise they really should be able to turn. I would have thought this unit could attack diagonally, but I don't think they can attack across the zone of control of my warband. Which is interesting. I would expect them to be able to do that. Oh no, it's probably because turning won't actually reduce the flank threat, because they'll be still hit in the flank by those noble lancers. And what else can I do? I can start to very slowly get around the flanks of these armoured noble lancers, or force them to keep turning around, but that's going to take forever and the battle will be done by the time I achieve that. There really isn't anything we can do at this point. It would have been nice if they'd given me a turn. Disgrace. Charging here will achieve nothing really. And if I move here, then he can create a funnel for his lancers to charge through and hit these guys in the rear, because he just has to move these slingers out of the way, and then the rest of the army can come through. So I have to stay on the defensive here. At least we can create a little bit of a defensive bunker here, but then the lancers are going to charge next turn. There's nothing. Nah, this is hopeless. Next turn. And thumping defeat in 3, 2, 1. Dramatic tension. There it goes. That was a nice note to end on. The Commander-in-Chief going down in a hail of glory. And just to seal the deal, are you done killing us yet? Oh, still got to get some of it out your system. They can just keep charging and falling back. It's only if that unit disrupted, in which case you're in this interesting position with warbands. You actually want to disrupt, because the lancers will then be pinned in combat with you long enough for another unit to come up and flank. And there we go. Well, let's have a word about that, shall we? So he managed to break through this area here, and that forced me to take the offensive out in this open ground, which, as you can see, that just went to pieces. He smashed straight through my Galatians. Arrow fire devastated me over here. He used the skirmishers very effectively to get behind me, to cause disruptions, but mostly just to to attack my units in melee in key moments and stop me from pinning down his rampaging flanking forces. Very effective use by the nomad light horse archers, although note that these were as expensive as my chariots, so that was kind of an equivalent exchange. But this was always going to be a difficult battle for the Galatians, and it comes down to the Galatian weakness, which is in their skirmishers and their lack of lancers, or their lack of anti-medium cavalry or anti-heavy cavalry. They have no real answer to these heavily armoured noble lancers and the swarm of light foot. Now I could have brought my light javelin men, and as Pompey pointed out quite rightly, that could have been used to delay his forces for a little while. But it would have only been for a little while. Even with 4 javelin, I don't think I could have stopped this missile storm very effectively, or even if I had, it would still have allowed them through here. Then maybe I'm being a bit pessimistic, and I'm not really being fair about my own failings in this battle. If I could have held things together either here or here, maybe I could have won something over here, or used one of these flanking opportunities at a more relaxed pace, and I could have won one flank. I was starting to get the upper hand against his remaining troops here, so I could have managed to hold, if I could have held out for long enough on the hill. But it doesn't seem possible with this withering fire coming from all the skirmishers on the hill. Maybe I should have come out to fight. Maybe I should have come off the hill, just gone long line and tried to attack aggressively with the cavalry on both flanks and tried to get around his army that way. Because with this many skirmishers, his line must have been shorter. I mean, let's take a look at how many units he had. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. He only had 14 heavy units on the field, compared to, I think I had, obviously a lot of them are gone now. I had, oh wait, no, 15, 16, 17. Okay, so he had 17 units. I don't remember how many Galatians I had at my height, but I think it was quite a number. If we'd been more aggressive, if I could have pushed these skirmishers out of the way, a more aggressive approach might have yielded results. It's the classic trap. Against the cavalry heavy army, I went for a very defensive approach because, of course, they're very maneuverable, and that makes you want to close in, box up, defend yourself. And that's often the opposite. You often want to take the opposite approach against the cavalry army. In order to limit their freedom to move around the battlefield, you want to push out aggressively and try and shove them towards the back of the map, bring them into contact with your line early, and then start engaging them and start surrounding them and start mopping them up. And I could have taken that approach, but on the other hand, the other way that story goes, of course, is, and I can maybe have used this rough ground to anchor parts of my line, but of course the other way that story goes is the warbands just get broken by the lancers out in the open. They break very quickly. And the lancers break through before any flanking actions can go through. And of course, any flankers that do get around are still going to get hit by swarms of missiles. But now I think about it, with the army he decided to take, I could have brought a few javelin, but a few javelin foot, 2 units of javelin foot, that's not going to stop the swarm of skirmishers. It might delay them in a couple of places, but unless you concentrate 4 of them on a flank, in which case that's probably effectively at least 2 less warbands that I would have been able to take, and it would have been the warbands I'd sacrificed because obviously I want all of my cavalry. That's what bringing 4 light javelin means. It means that I have to fight with 2 less warbands, or possibly with 1 less warband, which means a drastically shorter line, which means far fewer flanking opportunities. And unless I can really make use of those couple of extra units I have, it's not going to work out very well. But it might work if you encounter this situation. Maybe consider bringing the light javelin men and going for an aggressive push-out approach, rather than just surrendering all control of the battlefield to your opponent. Because Pompey very efficiently surrounded this position and quickly made inroads, because I had no strategic initiative whatsoever. And he was able to just place his skirmishers wherever he liked. I allowed him to shoot up my cavalry without them really being able to challenge. Now, that could have happened in the aggressive approach as well, but it would have at least given him less time to do that. I don't know. It's a very, very unforgiving situation for the warbands, and that's why I wanted to showcase it so much. Because if you do bring this army, particularly if you bring this army in a tournament setting, then even if you encounter a steppe army like this, then you really are up against it. And it's winnable. I believe it is winnable, but you need to... It's one of those situations where the warband army has to get everything right. Nothing can go wrong for it, because the moment those gaps start appearing in your line and the lancers start breaking through, you're finished, because they just do not have the flexibility to deal with that situation. Unless someone can come up with something very clever, and I would really encourage people to... I would encourage the community to experiment with this scenario. This is a challenge. See if you can find a way for a warband army to fight back against a steppe army, particularly one that's heavy on lancers, and particularly one that's heavy on lancers, because I think they can cope with the horse archer situation a bit better. Just because they can push out and push the horse archers off the back of the map. They can't do that against the lancers, because the lancers just paralyze them. Okay folks, I have been Napoleon Complex. Thank you for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one. Farewell.